Hey, welcome to Spurs TV, the transfer pod, where we're going to talk about Tottenham's work in the transfer market. To help me to look over from that is Chuma, and he's going to join us on the other side. In the meantime, come on, ye Spurs! Come on, ye Spurs. Come on, ye Spurs, indeed. Welcome back. This is Come on, ye Spurs TV, where we talk about everything Tottenham. Today, like I said, we are looking at the transfer window and looking at all the business in transfers that Tottenham have done in this window. And I mean, I think a lot of us will agree at the end of this that it's a reasonable job. I mean, without getting too ahead of ourselves in terms of how things would turn out, because with transfers you just never know, and you hope that things work out well. We've had, plenty of history to go back on to sort of give us that. Chuma, welcome. How are you?
Well, fabulously, awesomely, and outstandingly blessed. It's a great time to be a Tottenham fan. The first window in January that Tottenham.
Listen, Chuma, I thought I was the gratitude geek. I mean, you can't be giving me. Come on, I'm the chief of gratitude. Come on.
No. I think the Optimus thing is very infectious right now. So I'll take that. I'll take that. As always, welcome to Common News Spurs TV. We always have our housekeeping to do. Asking you to please subscribe. Click on the notification bell to get alerted every single time that we put out amazing content. Like the video, comment, let us know what you think about the channel. Let us know what you want us to talk about on the channel as well. And as always, it's Come On Ye Spurs.
Thank you. So, Chuma, I mean, where do we start from? Okay, let's look at the whole picture to begin with, and then we'll break it down. Because for me, as a Tottenham fan, as a neutral, some guy who has a podcast, you know, podcasters these days are almost as good as pundits, if you like. No, but not as good, but hey, but they talk a lot, and I'm one of those people like you and I who sort of have an opinion, and of course, people are welcome to sort of have contrary opinions. That's what it's all about. So you just sort of open up the debate, and the word on the street now is that you need to take a serious look at Tottenham, the way they are building that squad, and with the fact that a lot of people who have been injured are back, and suspensions are reduced, and the number of injuries out there is not as big as it was maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it's giving the whole squad a whole new look. And with the additions we've seen so far, I mean, come on, where do we start? Do you want to you take it a bit, Chuma, because I mean, I'm just too overwhelmed with glee at the moment, so I'm a bit tongue-tied, if you like.
No, you're right. So everyone saw the first 10 games that Tottenham played, and Tottenham were absolutely purring. We were playing Ange ball, front foot, proactive. Everything Tottenham fans had wanted the change of style to be, Tottenham were doing. And then all of a sudden, Chelsea happened. And then the injuries came in. And then the suspensions came in. And even then, Ange Postecoglou still maintained you still try and play the same level of football that you were. And we've seen, flipping results back and forth, some wins, couple of draws here and there. I think we have 3 draws for the season. But what's so interesting is we still try to maintain the same standard of football, and I think without the same quality of player. So while we were still getting the same kind of emotion and feeling, because what we're seeing, the patterns of play were still the same, they weren't executed in perhaps the most perfect way, because it wasn't the same players. Lo Celso differs from Maddison. Kulusevski playing as a 10 differs. If Bissouma isn't there, Højbjerg doesn't play the same way. Romero going out. we're hamstrung in defense. Period. We have Van de Ven and Romero, both of them out at the same time, substituted by Davies and Emerson Royale, who, after a shaky start, we kind of say, well, hey, they're not that bad. Not saying that they're the best in the world, but they do the job well. So Spurs have had a do the job well squad for the last couple of weeks, and we are 1 point behind the people down the road, who shall not be named, and 6 points off the top. That to me is a job well done. But then there are certain deficiencies in the squad. We knew this at the start of the season. Everyone said Tottenham needed 3 top centre backs. We only have 2. Tottenham probably need central midfield cover because we knew this time would come where Bissouma and Pape Matar Sarr, who have been excellent. Well, Bissouma early part of the season, but Sarr has maintained and been consistent. They were off to AFCON. And we also needed someone up front because our captain and leader, Heung-min Son, was going off to the Asian Cup as well. So we knew these things starting off at the season holistically. So it was a question of now Spurs going into the January window, knowing that we are in 5th place in the league, doing quite well, maintaining our standards, but looking to see if we could capture some quality to make the squad better and to make up for the players we've lost, albeit going out for international football. And I think, you and I have just seen, it's been a long saga. It's been a long 9 days. I think it was 9 days, the whole centre-back thing, starting off with Todibo, and then ending up with Dragoshin, and then Timo Werner out of the blue. Something I don't think any other Spurs ITK site or whatever. I don't think anyone knew Werner was happening, and Werner just happened like that. So now we've gotten the 2 main targets. I think the only target left is the central midfield target. We have our list. You and I are going to talk about the list. However, we don't know if Spurs are going to spring a surprise because the recruitment has been top-notch so far.
Yeah, talking about recruitment, and I know everyone was talking about the Romanian defender, and we had this talk offline about how to pronounce his name because we had a lot of back and forth because of the agents, playing games, saying Bayern were in for him when, Spurs looked to have gotten the deal over the line, but some sort of last minute Willian-esque type move seemed to have been made in the background, and thankfully it looks like we have gotten the deal over the line. No announcement has been made just yet, but I understand it that he was in London yesterday for the medical. And yeah, by the time you have this podcast, he probably would be. He would be a Tottenham player holding the shirt, and as my Nigerian folks like to call it, holding the jersey, Right. So you have this correct pronunciation of Dragoshin's name, Please, a lot of people have this notion that it's drag us in because of all the shenanigans going on.
so I've had the privilege of working with Romanians. I used to work on building developments. I worked with some Romanians, and one of them actually had a similar name to his. And then my next door neighbors for like 5-6 years were Romanian as well. So it schooled me in on how to pronounce the name. Even I messed it up just now as well. Forgive me, Radu, but it's Dragoshin, as in drug, gu, and shin.
Right,
Dragoshin.
So there you have it from authoritative Romanian source.
However, it's not going to stop people from calling him, Dragosin, or, they're going to call him what they're going to call him, but it's Dragoshin.
Good. So thanks for that. So, Dragoshin is in centre back, and he looks like a decent player based on what you've seen in the feature videos that in sense, making the rounds, and it looks like an interesting prospect. He's only 21 years old, and it has reasonable experience already at that very young age. It reminds me a lot of Udogie because he's a unit. He's also a big strong lad. It's almost so. You're looking at that strength in that defense, and you're looking at options. If Van Ven goes off, he can come in. If Romero goes off, he can come in. So that gives you a lot of confidence. I mean, at least we're looking at strengthening that area of our play. But like you said, I mean, it wasn't like we completely collapsed as well when we didn't have Romero and Van de Ven playing for us. However, it's always adds confidence to the team when you know that you have a recognized and accomplished centre back coming in for those people. If you want to speak about negatives, one might say, okay, fine, he doesn't have Premier League experience, you know. But a good player is a good player. I mean, Van de Ven never had Premier League experience, and he's just settled in like a duck out of water. And I mean, the same thing with Romero when he came in last year, when he came in 2 seasons ago as well. He just settled in very, very seamlessly. And a lot of transfers we've had this season, I've had no trouble adapting to the pace of the league, to the pattern of play that Ange brings to the team. And I don't know, is it an Ange factor, or is it just the fact that we've been blessed in this window to have this quality of players? What do you think?
Well, it's funny you mentioned Udogie and you mentioned certain things. Is it a coincidence that players coming from Italy are actually just straight up adapting into the league? Also, you look around and you think our former Don or our Don in absentia, Fabio Paratici, his fingerprints look all over this whole thing, because you're looking at the fact that, I don't know if you've seen the pictures of Dragoshin, Bentancur, Kulusevski. They were all in Juventus at the same time.
Oh wow! Okay. Oh, Dragoshin was in.
Well, yeah. He's in the same under 21 team with all of them. Yeah, all three of them.
Okay.
Juventus, of course, and of course, Juventus sporting director was Fabio Paratici.
Fabio, right? Okay.
Also, Romero was in the same Juventus squad as well, but Romero got shipped out to Genoa and Atalanta. No, so he entered Genoa first.
Okay.
And Dragoshin ends up at Genoa. So I'm not saying Paratici. I'm saying maybe he put the name out there and the club ran with it. We don't know, but that's the similarity, and that's why I think it will be very, very easy for him to adapt, because he has like 3 or 4 of his mates already in the same club. I don't know if they spoke to him as well leading up to the transfer. I would like to think they did. I heard Ange Postecoglou did, but he's 21. He's 6'3". So like you say, he is a unit, and the thing about it, I think a lot of you'd see a lot of videos, a lot of analysts talking about him. They are quite unsure about his passing, and because Genoa are playing a back 3. But the beauty of it is he reminds me of an earlier target that we went for in Tapsoba. Remember him?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We went for Tapsoba, and Tapsoba's the thing that was so unique about Tapsoba was he played in a back 3 by Leverkusen. But he's played all 3 sides. So he's played left centre back, central centre back, and then right centre back as well. The same thing for Dragoshin. Dragoshin has played left centre back, central centre back, and then before he came here, he played for Salernitana and he played for Juventus. He played, I think, 1 or 2 games for Juventus senior side, but junior side. But he played in a back 4, so he's quite tidy with his feet. Not exceptional or great, but he's very good at long passing. But the thing I think he has over Romero and Van de Ven is he is so good in the air. He heads the ball with he has this sort of Romero aggression when he heads, and he also comes out to meet an attacker the same way Romero. He has so many similarities to Romero, but I think he supersedes Romero in the air. I think he's a greater aerial threat. He's better defensively in the air as well than Van de Ven. Van de Ven is like a typical Dutch guy. He's like Vertonghen. He just wants to get that ball, he wants to get that ball on the ground. So he'll fake the header, let the ball land, and he would spin and turn and then get it back. Romero is good. He scored a couple of headers, but he doesn't like to head the ball. They rather let the ball come down and they bring it out. But this guy will head it to this guy. So in that sense, I think it's a really, really good thing. And then with both him and we're going to talk about Timo Werner next, the crucial thing I saw in both interviews was them saying that they got phone calls from Ange Postecoglou telling them exactly what he wanted from them or what he was going to give them. And I love that.
Yeah, I mean, which is, I was going to say that maybe what may have helped with those folks adapting very well to the league could be the and factor, because I think, like I said, saying to you now, it's very hard to discount the impact of a manager, especially who everyone buys into his ethics, everyone buys into his philosophy, and the vibe that he brings around the whole club. And we can see that, I mean, across the board, when people kind of have this air of confidence about our play, and you can see that in the drive, in the people are not unsure of what to do next. You can see that they actually play with such confidence, and it's a joy to behold. And I had there was this little clip on Tottenham Hotspur's website when he welcomed Timo to the rest of the group, and he was actually there, welcome him into the group, and that was quite interesting. It brings us to Timo Werner, right? So, like we said earlier on, when we were looking at the prospects that came in, I mean, we did say we needed a forward player, but all of the rumors and the ITKs and all the people who sort of seem to know everything or were in the know, nobody mentioned Timo Werner, right? Now he's here, right? He's actually the first to sign. I mean, almost like after the blue, within a couple of days. I mean, rumors about him, and then 2 days later, he was in Tottenham, which was absolutely fantastic. Given the fact that, can you imagine that in the first 10 days of the transfer window, we actually signed a player in. Now, in actual fact, we are signing 2 players in 10 days of the transfer window. I mean, how amazing is that? And thinking about it, I mean, if you look at all of the teams in the Premier League, I don't see anybody else who has signed anybody apart from us, or I mean, well, nothing official that has been made public, So that's quite a development, considering that we were noted for signing people at the last minute, on the last day, Now that's not to say that that's not going to happen again. Maybe you have 1 more player or 2 more players that maybe they're tracking in the background that may not necessarily be made public. But it's interesting. But now, Timo, what do you think of Timo? He had this spell in Chelsea when he didn't do that great, and he came in highly recommended highly regarded when he was in RB Leipzig, and he actually, he showed us a few of his tricks when he played against us in the Champions League the previous year, and we really, dealt with our team at that point in time. It was a threat, and he scored 95 goals for RB Leipzig. So, and he's gone back but he hasn't made quite the same impact as what he made when he was there in the first stint, because a few more players have come up since he left, and who are also doing the business well. So he's kind of gone down the pecking order in terms of regard and number of games he started, So yeah, but where are we with Timo Werner? Is it a good piece of business or a massive gamble?
I'll start there with a history lesson, if I may.
Okay, of course.
Well, not even football history, life history. So every time people talk about Africa, they always end up talking about Africa after colonialism. Everything you see about Africa is always post-colonialism and talking about how Africa was formed. No one ever talks about Africa's great past or the things we did before historically that were really great. Everything seems to stem from the point where, the colonizers came to Africa and did all the things they did. I'm saying this to say everyone talks about Chelsea regarding Timo Werner, but everyone sort of like shades away all the things he did leading up to Chelsea. He played for Stuttgart, he played for Leipzig, and he was a goal threat. Make no mistake, he was quite clinical. His pace is worldly, great finisher at the time because he was quite instinctive. I think it also helped him that the manager who coached him at Leipzig was a certain Julian Nagelsmann. Nagelsmann's football is quick, it penetrates faster, and all these things allowed him be himself. However, he moved to Chelsea and it didn't quite work out. The price tag, the way Chelsea were playing at the time, and then later Chelsea changed coach twice, I think, during his period. I think he went for Lampard to Tuchel. And Tuchel tried to give him a chance because Tuchel himself was quite familiar with his game from coming from Germany and how good a player he was, what a prodigy he was at Germany. But unfortunately, I think his confidence had gone by that time. And I think he's quite kind of like Richarlison. He's a bit of a confidence player himself. And I think all these things added up to the fact that it led to a miserable time for him at Chelsea. Upon moving back to Leipzig, Nagelsmann had moved on to Bayern Munich and now left Bayern Munich and now German national manager. The new manager at Leipzig is Marco Rose. And Marco Rose is a student of Ralf Rangnick. And so he plays similar to what, if you remember, Ralph Hasenhüttl at Southampton. He likes to play two strikers, two midfielders, so-called magic square, 4-2-2-2. And I don't think in that system it allows Timo Werner be himself. Timo Werner prefers it either he's the main striker or he's one of the wide guys running in behind. He likes running in behind. Similar to what, you can look at Brennan Johnson, look at Heung-min Son as well, and look at Richarlison. They all love running in behind. If you play a ball through, they're scoring and they don't have to think. So I think the football changed at Leipzig. So it affected him and he hasn't really done the business there this second time round. But there's still that same player in there. And I think Ange Postecoglou has recognized that. He reminds me of Ange's getting the Japanese player Kyogo to Celtic. Same kind of thing. A striker who likes to run in behind, who can also play wide, but running in behind as opposed to a 1v1 dribble merchant, which is what I think Spurs fans thought we were going to get. We needed someone who can actually hold the ball, dribble, and then create and score at the same time. But now we've gotten another player who can run in behind at pace and score. So I think all in all, if you're asking me if it's a good buy, the first time when I heard his name, I was like, nah, because of the Chelsea experience. I too forgot that, look, there was a career before Chelsea, and this guy is a good player. It's just maybe the right environment and the right coach, the right motivation, and his confidence to go up. So I think that's what's going to happen here at Spurs.
So are you sitting on the fence or saying that Timo Werner is a good buy? It's going to be a success, or has a higher chance of succeeding than not succeeding? Let me just put it that way, because no one knows what's going to happen anyway. What are you saying?
I think he's low risk. I think he's low risk, and under any other manager, I would have probably written it off and say, no, it's a bad move. But under Ange Postecoglou, and knowing that Ange Postecoglou signed off on the deal, and I'm not saying everyone Ange Postecoglou will sign off on is going to be great or amazing, but there's a certain kind of insistence that if he's doing this now at this stage of his thing, that of his tenure, that there's every chance that he knows how to utilize this guy. So I'm willing to watch and see what happens. But I think he'll be a success. And for 6 months, I think it's low risk. Our Daniel Levy doesn't like to risk. So it's a low risk deal, small loan fee up front. If it doesn't work out, he goes back. I don't think it's a win-win.
And they might choose that's the option, if it doesn't do does very well. I mean,
similar to Danjuma, and ironically, he's got Danjuma's number as well from when Danjuma was here, number 16. So similar to Danjuma. Unfortunately for Danjuma, I felt it was a wrong coach. I won't say insulted. I said I get dissed on the Nigerian Spurs group because everyone goes, oh, Danjuma was your guy. And Danjuma was my guy. He is still my guy. I think he's a great player. I just think he came into the wrong situation. We saw that with Bissouma as well. Coming for the right coach who actually wants you. That's the difference between, I think, our transfer policy this year as opposed to our transfer policy under previous managers, where some of them were club buys trying to fit the manager's wants. These ones are the manager's wants fitting exactly what he wants or needs. So I think that's why I think it will be a success. I think it will be.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. And honestly, I was just pulling your leg, to be honest, because I trust Anne's judgment, honestly. I really do. And for good reason as well. I mean, he's given, good proof of people that he's brought in so far. And they've done the business. I mean, the only person who you may say hadn't really done business, and that's because he had injuries, maybe Mana Solomon. But I mean, otherwise, everyone else has performed. And even Mana Solomon's, have to. Honestly, people always sort of talk about, Daniel Levy in negative terms, and I don't want to go into all that in this broadcast, because it's going to open up all sorts of kind of worms, and he's going to digress, and but I have to give Levy kudos in this. I have to really, really praise him. He's got it wrong a few times in the past, and overall, I think he's done a great job so far. As far as club direction is concerned. Now, where are we in terms of the other way transfer targets and rumors that people are sort of banding out there in terms of incoming? So originally, people were saying that, okay, fine, we probably needed 3 to 4 players. If we got 3 players, okay, it would have been good. Well, it's one up front, 1 defender, and 1 midfielder, right? And if we've got 4, that would be, a bonus, Now, rumors are that we're in the market for Conor Gallagher from Chelsea. Now, you're getting all sorts of mixed talk from Tottenham fans and people who are out in the press. Some people are saying that, maybe he's not a great buy. He hasn't really lit up the league so far. Those who have seen him play have said he's not an upgrade on all the folks we have at the moment. But there's also rumors that Pierre-Emile Højbjerg might be leaving in this window as well. So if he comes in, it will be a good replacement for him. And also bear in mind that Pape Matar and Bissouma are out at the AFCON. So and this is a time of the month when we actually really, really need them. However, thinking about it though, I was looking at the fixtures and the number of matches we're going to play in January. We're probably playing only 2 matches in January. 3 matches in total. we played 4 matches in total. We played 1 already, which was the FA Cup match against Burnley. We got one on Sunday against Man United. We've got an FA Cup. What's the word? Replay. Sorry, not replay. 4th round match against City, and then we have a match against Brentford. Those are the matches we got in January. Now, where do you think Conor Gallagher will fit in? Is it a good prospect for us to go for? Is it a good move for us? A. B. If not, who else do we have in mind? I know we have a few other targets that people have been talking about, and of those targets, what do you think of them, or which one do you think is most likely to come off? And if it does come off, what would that person bring to the squad?
Okay, yeah. So the 2, I would say 3 names that I know that sort of have been bandied about. One of them has really put himself on the shop window by scoring against Chelsea in the League Cup semi-final for Middlesbrough. A young man by the name of Hayden Hackney. Hayden Hackney scored a goal. He's a central midfield player. Can play as an 8, not really a 6. The difference in an 8 and a 6, of course, the 6 is the holding midfielder or defensive midfield player. The 8 is the box-to-box guy, or the guy who flitters in and around the center circle into the opponent's box. And he's quite good. He's okay. Then there's Adam Wharton of Blackburn. That's been mentioned with Spurs as well. Adam Wharton can play both positions, I think, a 6 and an 8. Very classy midfield player. Reminds me a lot of Michael Carrick in a very strange way. Not exactly Michael Carrick in terms of skills or technique, but in sort of like his build and the way he moves with the ball. He's a bit languid, free-flowing kind of guy. And then you have Conor Gallagher, who has been a target since the summer. So there was a story in the summer that we really were going to go. He fits the profile of an Ange player. He's someone who can play multiple positions in midfield. Not necessarily that he fits one position, but he plays all those positions well. So it's kind of like you're looking at a player who can be 7 out of 10 as an 8, 7 out of 10 as a 6, if you have to put him in the 6th position. And he is someone who is very energetic. He can press for days. And so Conor Gallagher is that guy. If you look at it in terms of does he fit Ange ball and is he an Ange request? I think he's a player that Ange likes and Ange would have wanted a Spurs. Now, if Chelsea would sell to Tottenham is another question. The other question also is, would he want to come to Spurs? Chelsea, I think, are in danger of FFP. So they need to sell before they buy. So it's a question of if Chelsea force him out, being that he's homegrown, he's one of their own, how would that look PR wise for them? But in terms of Spurs, I think he would fit in very well playing under Ange. I think he's suited for Ange ball, and I think now that we haven't spent crazy amounts buying the center back, there might be money to do this deal, and I don't even think it might be as much as 50 million. I think it could be something in the region of 40. And knowing Daniel Levy and his gift for spreading out payments, pay as you go, or pay small. We'll see. We'll see how they can structure the deal. But yeah, Conor Gallagher, I think he is the template for what they are looking for. Whether it will be him or it will be someone else, Timo Werner's, like you said, surprised us all. It could be someone else they just pluck out from thin air.
I was just taking a mental look at the team vis-a-vis the Poch era, and the only players who have remained or within the fringes of that Poch era will probably be the likes of Davis, the likes of Son and Dyer. Now, a bit of breaking news. Dyer has signed for Bayern Munich. What a move, for Eric. Now, who would have thought? It seems like the classic stone that the builder refused, and it goes to a top team. You couldn't possibly make that up, And I'm really, really pleased for him because he got a lot of stick from Tottenham fans, especially towards the end, And it's not. From my view, I think he's been a long and faithful servant to the club. And he gave a good account of himself overall, And I remember him scoring a winner against West Ham. That was a really, really good piece of play. On his debut, can you imagine? So yeah, and come to think that it's been 10 years since he joined us. That's absolutely fantastic. So yeah, which then brings us to say of those targets, if you like, or those prospects, Parkin, Watson, Gallagher. What do you rate as being the one with the highest chances of coming off? One, if it does come off, will it be good business?
So because I'm not sure if I think Tottenham would go for Conor Gallagher, and if it's proving difficult, the thing about Adam Wharton, so I think it's Gallagher and Wharton, in my opinion. This Hayden Hackney is really new to me in terms of being linked to Spurs. Adam Wharton, I've known for a while as Spurs looked at him in the summer. In fact, the same period, because he was in the same team as Ashley Phillips, who's just gone out on loan as well. We'll talk about the exits now. But Adam Wharton's case is a case of, I think, Blackburn would like to keep him for the rest of the season. So I think he's the kind of deal Tottenham can do where, similar to what we did with Sarr, ironically, we pay the money, anything up to 15, I think, to 20, but I'm thinking more 10 to 15 million. And then you leave him on Blackburn for a year. But that doesn't help you mitigate the fact that you've got a midfield absence. So that's why I think it might be somebody who fits into the 25 to 30 million pound bracket. I don't think Daniel Levy wants to spend 100 million in the summer in January. I think he just wants to spend or get someone on loan with the option to buy. Hence the reason the Italian connection as well. There's a name I didn't mention before we started the show. So there's a gentleman who also plays for the same team as Dragoshin did, Genoa, called Morten Frendrup. Morten Frendrup is a Danish midfield player, plays for Genoa. He's very good. Spurs have been watching him for 12 months now. And I think he's a name, and the deal could be structured. I think it's possible, but we're not quite sure if that will happen. But like I said, I don't think Conor Gallagher is coming.
I'm going to interrupt you here. You're hearing for the first time here. Frendrup.
Yeah.
From Comedy Spurs TV Transport Pod. Okay, it's out there. So yes, let's see what happens before the end of the transfer window. We still got another 20 days or thereabouts, before the window closes. So
an exit.
Yeah, the exits that we've had so far. So I just mentioned Dyer there, which is obviously just only broken as a piece of news while this recording is taking place. So there are probably plenty of other podcasts about him and how well he's at the club, or how hardly he's played in some situations, you know. But overall, I mean, I think I like that, you know. Yeah, but as part of the sort of deal to get Radu in, Dragoshin, Dragoshin in, right? You had to have Jet Spence move across. So Jet Spence was on loan to Leeds, and his loan deal was cut short. I mean, we don't quite know what the circumstances are, but the suggestions are that he wasn't really pulling his weight, or he didn't have an attitude that featured with the rest of the team. I don't know the truth of that. Yeah, there was some sort of veiled reference to his attitude. Now, so he's gone off to Genoa as part of the deal to bring in Dragoshin. Ashley Phillips. Now, Ashley Phillips came in as a young guy with plenty of prospects from Blackburn at the time. 18 years old, quite tall, well built, and seems to be a good player at his level at the Championship, but he doesn't really have any Premier League experience, you know. But I mean, I think maybe his chances were cut short by the fact that he didn't really have any senior player to play alongside because of the injuries that we've had alongside along the back line. So I mean, our regular centre backs were not available, and we had to bring in Davies and Emerson, who played in those roles, and they're not natural centre backs, if you like. So apart from Davies, who maybe does play centre back for Wales, but Tottenham he's always been a left back. So I think that might have limited his chances in terms of development. So it's been asked to go out on loan to Plymouth Argyle. So let's see how that works out for him. We wish him all the best. Now, the other guy you mentioned was Matt Craig, right? Under 23 player, who's also gone off to Doncaster Rovers, you know. So that's another young man that's gone off. So far we have 4 players who have left, who are not longer on the books. So overall, what do you think the balance looks like now for the team? Because I'm looking at it from the point of view of saying, a lot of our injured players are coming back. You know, by the time we get to the end of January, would have had all, if not most of our players, but apart from maybe Ivan Perisic, who's out to the rest of the season. You know, the vast majority are back and are training, and it's looking quite formidable. I mean, on paper form at the moment, it's really a matter of then translating that into form on the pitch. And if the prospects of what we've seen in the past is something to go by, I think it's gonna. I think Spurs are going to be deadly this season. What do you reckon on this second half of the season?
No, I fully agree. I fully agree with you. I'm all in on the Optimus line. But I'll double back to Eric Dyer. I have to say that, you know, as a Spurs fan, I appreciate Eric Dyer. I appreciate Ben Davies, and these are players I think have come under, like, in my opinion, unwarranted flack from Spurs fans. Yes, they've made mistakes, they've made errors, but I mean, come on. I've been supporting Spurs for over 30-something years now. There's hardly a Spurs player that hasn't done something. Gary Mabbutt, who is a legend in our club, I mean, his knee cost us an FA Cup in 1987. You don't see us going on about stuff like that, or during that period. I mean, can you imagine Gary Mabbutt making that mistake in 2023? His knee he would have been killed.
Yeah,
but here's a man
letting in Pogba to get out of the FA Cup semi-final. You
know what I mean. So it's kind of like Eric Dyer for me. I think if I could ever say anything to him was bro, Pochettino had the right idea playing you in midfield, and I think you should have worked to stay there. I think you should have accepted the challenge of Wanyama and Dembele and trying to break them up, rather than, I felt you chose the easy route of going back into central defense. You didn't have the pace, and it showed up a lot. I think playing in the back three helped him more, but he didn't have superstar players either side of him. When he had Vertonghen and Toby playing with him in the back three in 2016-17 season, he was amazing. With Jed Spence, we have a he's been on the show before, I think, as well, one of the shows, Eric, Spurs Forever, and he's a huge fan of Spence, huge fan of Marcus Edwards, and it's the thing both players have in common is their attitude has been challenged by the same manager who they were on loan to, and that's Daniel Farker at Leeds. I'm not saying Daniel Farker is a bad coach or a poor coach, but the exact same kind of language he used for Marcus Edwards all those years ago when he was Norwich manager is the same language he's using for Jed Spence. And it's sort of labeling Jed Spence already. People have painted an image of a player with a poor attitude. But I said, if he had such poor attitude, Antonio Conte would have said something. And Postecoglou would have said something. None of them said anything about his attitude. It's just that he wasn't useful to what they wanted to do. And I think it means something. If you look online today on X, you would see Christian Stellini, the assistant to Conte, talking about Jed Spence and saying, "Oh, he's a quiet boy. He's this. He just needs to impose himself more defensively and attacking wise. Nothing about attitude." So I wish Jed Spence all the best. I hope he goes there and I hope he turns it on and I hope he proves the same way Marcus Edwards has done more or less by going to Portugal. I think there's a player in Jed Spence. It's unfortunate that sometimes you come to a big club and it doesn't work. We're looking at the young man at Sunderland at the moment who Premier League teams are trying to get, Jack Clark. Jack Clark had the same thing. He was supposedly, quote unquote, trash at Spurs. But look at him now at Sunderland. He's thriving and he's playing the best. He's a winger. He's actually what Spurs need at this moment in time. So I give him that as well. But if you're talking about the balance of the squad, you and I spoke about it off air. It's literally now going back to 2 players per position.
Yep.
And it's not looking bad. The distance in quality is not looking that bad. You could literally have, you and I spoke about it. So you have Vicario and Foster goalkeepers. Vicario, of course, is way ahead. Then you have Porro and Emerson as the right backs inverting. You have the left back. You could play Davies there or Sessegnon. So Sessegnon and Udogie. The 2 centre back positions, you now have Romero and Drogoshin, and you have Van de Ven and Ben Davies. Absolutely. Going into midfield, you have Bentancur, Maddison, and Bissouma if you wanted that as a starting 3. And then you have Skip, Gio Lo Celso, and Pape Matar Sarr. You still have Højbjerg until he leaves as well, there as well. Then wide, you have Kulusevski, Son, and Richarlison if you say that's a starting 3. And then now you have Brennan Johnson, Timo Werner, and possibly Mano Solomon as well coming back in as well. So you literally have 2 for every position, and that's going on in the new year till April, May. I mean, that's fantastic.
I mean, I could not sum it up better myself. I mean, we've got makings of a decent squad there, and with 2 more windows, I mean, things are really, really looking up, you know, and the prospects are looking really good, really, really good. Chuma, absolutely fantastic having you, you know, and as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.